Welcome to Coastal Front. Join us each week as we sit down with the movers and shakers of Vancouver to discuss stories of business, politics, accomplishment, and failure. Our aim is to keep you dialed into what matters most in our city. Now, here's your host, Andrew Johns.
Great. So excited to have you here, Jeff. Jeff Stein. You are a medical doctor. You run your own clinic called Stein Medical Clinic.
That's
Clinics.
right.
I'm not sure. Do you have more than one?
Yes, we have three clinics.
Three clinics.
Three clinics downtown Vancouver. Okay. Nice to be here, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for coming today. Look, we got a lot of topics to cover here in a fairly short time. We'll talk about your clinics in a bit, but let's just first of all dive right into the medical system in BC. Here's an observation. I'd like you to comment on this. It seems to me most people I know don't have a dedicated, family doctor like they would have had when I was growing up as a kid in Port Alberni.
Yeah.
It seems like people just go to medical clinic. Myself for years have been just going to a medical clinic, whoever's available, because it's so hard to get a doctor to take you on as a client, as a patient.
Yeah.
And it seems like we have this shortage of doctors. And when I've looked at this blue book that shows the amount that GPs get paid versus specialists, it seems to me, especially in Vancouver, you want to talk about affordability of housing and professionals that get paid. Like it seems like doctors, general practitioners, GPs in Vancouver really don't get paid very much, considering how much it costs to live in the city. What are your thoughts on?
Yeah,
on that?
I think that's a fair statement. If I go back to I grew up on the North Shore. In those days, the good old days, we had family doctors. Family doctors were part of the hospital. I ended up working after. Starting in the late 80s at Lionsgate Hospital. I do merge shift, surgery assist, I deliver babies. Everyone would want hospital privileges. We never really complained about the cost of living. I think we did quite well.
Yeah.
And we were a tight community.
Yeah.
And part of that community was having a family doctor.
Yeah.
Continuity of care.
Yeah.
Over the years, I ended up setting up about 16 years ago a walk-in clinic. It quickly morphed to a second clinic and a third.
Yeah.
And what happened was that our walk-in clinics became more than urgent care centers. They became the family practice home for many patients because in a rapidly growing population as Vancouver is, people didn't have family doctors.
Yeah.
So over the course of about 13 years, we had 900,000 patient visits.
Wow.
A caseload of about 35,000 patients, and a core team of 8 family doctors.
8 people. That's it.
8 family doctors.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So
for 900,000
patient visits, right?
Visits in the course of
of the course of 13 and a half years. So we became so busy, we couldn't keep up with the demand. The phones were ringing off the hook. And And
I remember this, Jeff, because way before you and I ever met, I used to go to your clinic.
Did you?
Yeah, years ago, like going back 10 years ago.
You were a hockey player, weren't you?
Yeah. And I just remember somebody saying, like, I couldn't get myself a family doctor. And someone said to me, "Oh, you should go down to Stein. That place great. They'll take you in right away."
Yeah.
And I remember going down there, and I was like, it was like Grand Central Station. It seemed like everybody working downtown Vancouver would go to your clinics.
Yeah. We took great pride in providing quality care.
Yeah.
And we had in the glory days a real team of collegial experienced doctors, right? Where we knew specialists, we'd make phone calls, we'd really be champions of the patient care as primary care providers.
Yeah.
And we'd often follow-ups, we'd be on call for the patients.
Yeah.
So a very enjoyable, but at times very hectic and demanding type of a practice, right?
Yeah.
We became not only family doctors, but an urgent care center for downtown Vancouver.
Right.
So
it morphed into something much bigger than I guess you maybe originally anticipated. Is that what?
Yeah. So Andrew, 2.5 years ago, I made a decision that some of our senior doctors were slowing down and approaching retirement.
Yeah.
And one of our experienced female doctors was leaving on a maternity leave.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult to attract new doctors to the practice, right? There's a huge shortage of family doctors.
Okay, so my observation is spot on. There's a shortage of family doctors.
A huge shortage, right?
I don't know whose phone that is. Maybe we can... Is that yours, Jeff?
Yeah, we'll just turn this off and get it out of our hair here, okay? Yeah.
You can tell it's a doctor's phone. It's going off every 30 seconds.
Okay, so yeah.
Whoever your patients are, they're going to have to wait. Sorry.
Yeah. So downtown, right?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to guess that 50% of people, right? There's a lot of people that live downtown and a lot of people that commute.
That's
okay?
right. Yeah.
But often healthcare needs are needed in the place of work where people are from 8 to 6 or 9 to 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we just got swamped, right?
Okay.
I think downtown Vancouver doesn't need 10 more family doctors, but we probably need about 50 family doctors, right? So
50.
Okay. And when we look at specialists.
Okay, so it was Jeff, just to give me some numbers here.
Okay.
What is a typical family doctor? What does a typical family doctor take on as far as patient load? I don't even know what your metrics are that you measure by. You'd mentioned visits versus patients.
Yeah.
How do you measure it?
Okay. So you can look at a day, right?
Yeah.
Typically working a Monday to Friday day. And there's call also provided, right? It's a responsibility to our patients, okay? So we'd probably see about 35 patients a day per doctor,
okay?
Right? You can kind of see anywhere, depending on complexity, between 4 to 5 an hour, okay? So our days begin at often 8 o'clock, and then we end up writing up the charts and making referrals to specialists, and probably get home, leaving the office at about 6.
So if you're seeing 35 patients a day, how many hours are you probably working to be able to
do that?
Yeah. Are you showing up at work at 8 and leaving at 6 kind of thing, or
leaving at 6 with a little bit of work, maybe coming in the next day at 7 to catch up, right? Okay. So they're easily 8 to 10 hour days, okay? And what's happened is that the complexities of the visits over the years have changed, right?
Okay.
These are not simple, quick walk in because patients have family doctors and they'll see their family doctor in the morning or the next week. Okay. So they'll be anywhere from dealing with a motor vehicle accident to a laceration, a work-safe injury, to a patient with pneumonia, a patient with chest pain, a patient with a cancer that we're following. Yeah. So we were doing all the referrals, the follow-ups as the family doctor.
And when you say is that not the case today, or you still are?
No, because I basically made this decision as doctors were retiring, and the clinics were becoming so overwhelmingly busy. Yeah. Like we'd have a lineup of 20 deep in the morning at 7:30 to get in, and the phones would be ringing off the hook, and with all the administration, the way medicine works, right? There's some areas of administration I think that could be improved, right? Okay. So we still are obligated to fax all medical information. Right?
Fax?
To fax. Do you have a fax machine?
No.
Okay.
I don't even know Ross ever seen one. Ever seen a fax machine, Ross?
Right? I have no idea what a fax machine is.
So hopefully this will change very soon. But
it's unbelievable.
But it creates a lot of redundancy in the workplace.
No kidding.
And we have to
who are you faxing to? What are you faxing?
We're faxing all specialist referrals and test results to different specialists that we refer to.
And who makes the stat? Like, is this just no one's moved out of the Stone Ages, or is like the government's actually?
I think it must be a decision that was made through the Canadian Medical Association years ago, right? Thinking that fax is very secure because nobody uses it,
except for doctors.
But also there's something called HIPAA compliant secured email. Right. I think we all do our banking and book an air flight online for years. Yeah. So when you look at the business model, if you want to go there, of saying a shortage of doctors, right?
Yeah.
Running 2-3 busy walk-in clinics, and having the responsibilities of not only the quality of patient care, but of keeping a staff happy, paying the monthly rent. When you look at overhead, right? Sure. In downtown Vancouver, it's huge.
Like what percentage is your overhead probably of your top line billings?
Our overhead was running at 50%.
50%.
Yeah. And then
When I see, if I see a GP, because of course this information is public here in British Columbia for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And I see a GP that's got billings of, $180,000, and they're running in downtown Vancouver. They've got maybe a partner, and they're running a practice in downtown Vancouver.
Yes.
Before taxes, but after those expenses, they're probably only at 90.
That's about right.
And then they got to pay tax.
And then they got to pay tax.
Yeah. Which the Liberal government isn't super friendly to you guys anymore with the whole getting rid of the sprinkling act.
I know it's there's a huge squeeze happening at many levels, right?
Yeah.
And
so going back to a typical doctor servicing a client, you said 35 a day.
35 a day.
Okay.
And we probably get
like on average, how many? I'm just going to run the math on this. So how many times a year do you typically how many times does a patient typically come see their GP?
I would say if we looked at the median, it's probably 3 or 4 times, right?
Okay.
On the ranges, it's some patients that need to see us for certain things, every month,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
But
then other people.
But I think if we say 4 times a
Okay.
year, right?
Okay. And how many do most? I mean, like for example, my wife's a dentist. Most dentists don't work more than four days out of the week,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because they get exhausted.
Yeah.
What about GPs? Do most GPs work 5 days a week? Are they most of them working?
I think most do.
Most do,
right?
Yeah. And how many weeks? I mean, I guess you're probably going to be working about out of 52 weeks, maybe 48 or 47 weeks out of the year.
Yeah, I think we can take 6 weeks off.
Okay.
To sometimes.
So let's say 46 weeks.
Okay.
And you're going to see, so that's 46 times 5. So that's 230 working days, which makes sense. The standard working days are about 220. That's kind of the corporate average. So let's just say 220 working days out of the year. And you're going to see 35 people. So that's 7,700 patients.
Yes.
Patient visits, divide by 4, because you can assume each patient sees you.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to see 1,900 patients. So just short of 2,000.
Okay.
Now
Yes.
Vancouver proper alone, never mind. I don't know what the stats are for downtown Vancouver, but Vancouver brings in something like 30,000 new migrants, meaning people from outside of Vancouver. They don't have to come from another country or even another province. They may just be coming from a small town in the north, but there's about 30,000 people a year that comes in. And so if you just look at that number alone, and they all need a GP, right? That's new. That's not just moving from one jurisdiction to another. It's not going from Burnaby to Richmond to Vancouver. That's divide by 2,000 means you need at least 15 new GPs every single year.
Yes.
Coming on board.
Yeah.
Just in Vancouver proper.
So I don't think I'm far off by saying 50.
No.
No,
because if you haven't had 15,
right?
If you only had 5 new GPs this year.
Yeah.
And because you got to look at the net too, right? If you have 5 GPs, if you had 10 GPs come on board in Vancouver, but 5 also retired, you're net 5. And just throwing my mouth on this, you're going to need a net 15 every single year.
Yes.
So if you have only if you like in 2019, if you have a net increase of only 10, that carries 5 over to the next year. Now you need 20 the next year.
That's right. Yeah.
And it builds up, which goes back to what my view is, and sounds like you're supporting that, which is that it's like harder and harder to get a GP.
It's very, very challenging, right?
So where's the bottleneck, Jeff? Like, is it we're not producing enough GPs at medical school? Are not enough wanting to go in and become a GP because they don't get paid enough? Is there just not enough space?
Yeah. So 5 years ago, one of our physicians that's been in practice 8 years, her husband's a dentist.
Okay.
Right. So you think, and they had 2 children.
Yeah.
Right. They just honestly, a dentist and a family doctor, right? 2 young kids.
Yeah.
They wanted a home and a backyard, but they never saw in Vancouver, right? Working really hard.
Yeah.
They moved to Calgary, right?
Right.
They moved to Calgary because they could have a house and have maybe slow down their workload a little bit. Okay. And so Vancouver is an expensive place. It's an expensive place for professionals, right? For physicians.
When the patient comes and visits a GP, What do they get? Does it depend on the purpose, or does it?
Yeah, that's probably surprising to most people, right?
Yeah.
We've done different polls over the years,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people say $60, $80, $100 a visit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
and
I would expect you get $100.
$100, it's $30 and change, right? $30 and change.
Wow.
And then you apply the overhead to that,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. $30.
That's it, right? There's
Now, does it depend on where you live? Like, would a GP in Cranbrook get paid less than? I mean, do you get paid more to be in Vancouver?
No, it's actually the opposite, right? If you're in outlying areas, right? So there's a type of pay where I think it's a 10% that applied to different areas where they do need doctors, right? So let's say underserviced rural areas, right? Where there's not a doctor, or outside of Greater Vancouver, certainly, there's probably, I think, a 10% surplus charged on the medical service fee schedule that comes to the doctors. But I would say that shining light on being a Vancouver doctor of 30 years experience, that downtown is the most underserviced area in British Columbia.
Sure.
Right?
But what do you see the reason for that as being? Is it that it's just far too prohibitive to live here, and so you just don't have a draw?
Well, I think a few things. You have a fastly growing population.
Yeah.
We're all faced with expensive housing, right? And expensive living. And the fee schedule for the physician, right, is I think it's taken about 30 years to double. Okay, so
30 years
on that basic office.
So you're telling me that 5 years ago, it was like the same. No problem.
Yeah.
If you need to take it, go ahead. I mean, you are a doctor, and
that's just
the last thing I want on my conscience is somebody's not. Someone's gonna.
We're okay there. Yeah. I just need to.
So Jeff, so let's go back 5 years ago.
Okay.
What was the billing? What was the average billing for when a patient came in?
So
Still
5 years ago, we signed a new contract with the government.
Okay. So there's a contract that general practitioners have separately from other doctors, or all
So each specialty group will negotiate through the Doctors of BC.
Okay.
Right, with the tariff committees and the government. Okay. So
so you're part of this pool. Yeah. Do you know how many GPs there are in British Columbia?
I think it's about 10,000 doctors, right? How many GPs? I can't put my finger on exactly how many.
Yeah. So you guys negotiate with the government.
We negotiate with the government,
and
right?
And it's on a certain term, 5 years or something like that.
It was a 5-year contract, and we got 0.5% a year
increase.
Right? Increase. Okay. 0.5% a year. Right.
So it's way below inflation.
Way below. So
I mean, in real dollars, you're actually billing less than you were 5 years ago. In real dollars. Real dollars.
Very much.
Never mind the fact that your tax rates have also gone up.
Very much so, right?
So you're going backwards, not forwards.
And I think the challenges the doctors of BC face are that the Society of General Practitioners and they try their best to represent us well, but they often come back with saying, we don't have enough money, right? The government does not have enough money. And I think the healthcare pie for the province, when you look at family doctors, right, GPs, incomes, it's a very small percentage of that healthcare pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were starting off again fresh out of medical school, would you still be a GP? I mean, I don't know why you would. Would you go into some kind of specialty? I mean, at least
I don't know if look at it's nice to have a good middle class income, right?
Yeah.
I think with the and there's always hope. I think that the fee schedule will improve, right?
Yeah.
I think there's been some good strides most recently.
Yeah.
But I never would even think about that as being a deterrent to go into medicine. That is this for the amount of training, the debt load when you come out of school, of $300,000, right? And a family doctor that's valued, right, at $30 and change for a visit, I find it shockingly disturbing, right?
It is. I had no idea actually it was that bad.
But I think still, I guess I'm the type of guy that, I was really following my heart and going into medicine because I love being a doctor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
So
Okay.
I would probably still do so. And my children, I would encourage them if that's who they want to be,
Yeah.
right, to be the best doctor they can.
Yeah.
However, just like I alluded to the family 5 years ago that moved to Calgary, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty challenging, right? To make a go of it in the city on a family doctor's income.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to 5 years ago. You guys had this, I'm assuming it was called a collective bargaining agreement,
Sure.
CBA, with the provincial government, which 5 years ago would have been under the Liberal administration, under Christy Clark's administration.
Yeah.
And you guys negotiated a 0.5% increase. Was there any other upside to that renegotiated contract other than half? Like, what else did you get? Did you get anything else that was unfavorable compared to the previous one? Do you remember?
I think I could afford a extra venti latte a day instead of a grande based on the new agreement. But
So why did you guys sign that then? Like, I guess one of the questions I have is like,
Yeah.
you mean you guys must have a lot of teeth, I would think. I mean, you're,
Yeah.
10,000 doctors strong, and you are the core of our medical system. I mean, nobody sees a specialist without going to GP. I mean, if I was there representing you guys, I'd be like, hey, this doesn't work. Pulled out.
I think so.
Like, that's
right?
the unions do.
Yeah.
Sure as hell the
teachers and the nurses
the
union.
nurses union sure
Yeah.
wouldn't put up with that.
Yeah, there's stand corrected, but I think there's 40,000 nurses and 10,000 doctors, so there's a lot of power
Right.
in the nursing union.
Yeah.
And they
Plus
are
you
a
guys aren't
union.
technically a union.
We're a professional body,
Yeah.
so I think there's never really any hostility shown towards and the government are bound by federal transfer payments, and so much can go to family doctors, so much can go to other specialties. So we're kind of in this bind that.
Oh, so the provincial government can't just arbitrarily, say, okay, you know what, you guys are getting underpaid. So
here's the money in the pot from the feds to
Is that right?
to provincial health care, and here's how it should be distributed. Right?
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought healthcare was a provincial jurisdiction.
I think the monies come from the federal government,
okay,
right?
with stipulations.
With stipulations.
With the terms. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So with respect to where we're at after this agreement, right, it didn't really give us any boost or catch up, right?
Yeah.
I would think there should be a lot of catch up, right? If I think I go back to 30 years ago, I was getting about $15 a patient.
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Right?
Yeah.
And then overhead was much different. I think the minimum wage was $8 then.
Yeah.
Right? Everything was.
Well, and I guess thinking of taxes, you're probably now also having to take on this employer health tax now, right?
Yeah, that applies to, I think, of different clinics. And if you have more than one, your payroll does supersede the $500,000, but that's another 4% tacked on.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really help us still a smaller business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you look at some of these other doctors, Ross, I'm going to pull out that list. I mean, I started doing some of this research myself.
Okay.
So there's that, well-known blue book that comes out every year, who the top paid doctors are. I actually pulled this data and started working through it. And here's my observation. If you take a look at Ross, scroll down a little further to maybe the top 30. I think it went up to the top 30. You'll see that, as we can obviously observe here, that basically all the highest paid doctors in the province are ophthalmologists. I mean, literally, up to the top 30, there's probably only 5 that aren't ophthalmologists, and the next highest seems to be cardiologists. And I mean, the billings on some of these people, I mean, you look at this Dandy Dharma, I'm sorry for pronouncing his name wrong. Danda Dharminder Singh. I mean, he's billing out $3.6 million a year in billings. So it seems to me like there's this massive disparity between these GPs who are maybe on average billing, 150 or 200,000 a year, and then you got 10 times that number for these specialists. Now, granted, I mean, they're specialists. They probably spent a ton of time trying to get to that level. But it seems a bit odd, to me, that it seems like the system's a little bit out of whack. I mean, couldn't you, if I could wave a magic wand, it would seem to me it would make a lot of sense to maybe have those people take about a 10 or 20% pay cut You know, 20% pay cut on $3 million, you're still making 2.7. And then you reallocate that to folks like yourselves. I mean, I'm not trying to pump your tires here, but I mean, like I look at these GPs out there, they seem overworked, underpaid, and you can't find half of them anyways because, you know, there's so few available.
Yeah. I think to share the wealth a little bit, and no disrespect, right? There's only, I teach at the university, and there's, I think, only three new ophthalmologists entering the province, right? In their residencies of 5 years. We go 2 years.
Right.
So there's more training, right?
But isn't the ophthalmologists themselves the ones who kind of decide how many new ophthalmologists come into the market?
I think you have to look at ophthalmologists are typically clinic or hospital based, right? And they do quite well with respect to some of the surgeries such as cataracts, which over the years with the technology and laser and things, it's become a much quicker procedure than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'd make the argument that I think the reason you see radiologists and ophthalmologists doing so well is largely because they've been benefactors of technology advances.
Hugely so.
And it's not really anything they've even done. They won the lottery. They picked the right specialty.
Well, you know, good on them, right? You know, but I think my opinion would be to say, maybe there could be a little bit of sharing, but we're so far off, right? And when you look at a family doctor or a clinic doctor in an urgency center, right? The amount of money that we're going to save the system, right? It's totally fiscally responsible to have urgent care centers, right? That operate on $30, $40 a visit to the doctor. Versus those patients, right? Having to go to the emergency. And costing the system
way more, probably
$800, thousands of dollars, right? And they have to be seen when they go to the emergency. You see? So to look at the value of the family doctor and how the family doctor can be fiscally responsible in working in the medical system. For sure, if people all have a designated family doctor that knows them, right? Patients know where to go. And if that doctor is accessible, right? The patient should be able to be seen within a day. And urgent problems that I would guesstimate that probably 60% of emerge visits, right, in downtown Vancouver are things that could be, they're not trivial, they're important. But they're not true emergencies, right? And they could be dealt with in the family doctor's office the next day, or in the clinic. So
what you're saying, if I can summarize this, is that you believe on a dollars per dollars basis, the current system versus this sort of utopian system of many GPs out there, general practitioners, that people would have a lot more access to them, so they wouldn't need to resort to going to emerge. And for the amount of money you'd actually spend an extra hiring these extra GPs, you'd more than save on all the people who are going to emerge, costing the system way more, and also free up that emergency environment for true emergencies.
For sure.
Okay.
The family doctor has the patient's records. We're the custodian of all their specialist visits, their lab tests, right? Of all the continuity of care. And when a patient goes to the emergency, right? There's still no way of communicating where even hospitals don't intercommunicate.
They don't?
No. So it's very difficult to get when a patient goes into an emergency with abdominal pain and they've had a history of that, and they had an ultrasound, and they go in at 8 at night, and they want to see that ultrasound from a month ago, right? The family doctor has it, you see. But I would think, right? It would be confidential to allow hospitals, right, to see a care card patient and access that important information. Instead, often what has to happen is they'll order more tests. They'll order perhaps unnecessary tests that were most recently done because at that point of contact in the emergency,
they need it now.
The merge doc basically is working a pretty frenzied shift, right? And needs to know right now right? Is this potentially more serious?
Yeah.
But that ultrasound we can't get.
Yeah.
Okay. But part of the
And you can't get it because the system's not
the system's not connected,
it's not
right?
connected.
And I don't know, when did you first have your BlackBerry? Probably 2000, right?
Yeah.
But
It's been 20 years.
It's boggling, right?
Yeah. But then when you tell me that you got to fax everything, and maybe if you hadn't told me that beforehand, I'd probably be more shocked.
Yeah.
So there's a problem. Is there any jurisdiction in the Western world, whether it's the UK, United States, somewhere, where the system does work from an information sharing, managing the risk and managing privacy, but also making it fluid so that if a patient did go into Emerge, that Emerge doc could pull that patient's file pretty easily. Is there anywhere in the world where that's working?
I think in Northern Europe and in Switzerland, there may be the other countries, Hong Kong, different places, right? Yeah. Where, yes, they're more Singapore, where they're more tech savvy, right? Yeah. So I think Life Labs, we've probably all had over the years some Life Lab results.
For sure.
There's something called My eHealth. Life Labs has done a commendable job, right? Yeah. Maybe 10 years ago, we truly started to develop, right? We always used to keep our charts all on paper. Yeah. Right. And then we had to convert to electronic medical records, more than a scheduling system, but have all the patient notes, all the doctor's notes, all the test results scanned. We still scan things in because everything's faxed to us, right? But to have everything on paper, but to have that portal open to the patient, to have it on their phone, all their health records, right, would be ideal. Yeah. So yes, we can go to Life Labs and register at My eHealth, and we can see all those things there, right? But the ideal system where I know other countries do have this. Yeah. Let's take Switzerland, for example, but a patient can show you. We see a lot of the visitors from servicing the downtown hotels, right, as being a downtown clinic. Yeah. And I think patients in general, right, whether they're from anywhere in the world, right, from Sydney, Australia to Hong Kong to London, England, right, they are very surprised, right, in that, wow, this system here, right, is behind the times with respects to IT communication, and also a family doctor. A new family moves, they need a family doctor. They come and see me, and they bring in their son. Yeah. And he has an ear infection, right? Yeah. I treat him, he comes back, right? Mm-hmm. It turns into something more serious, where in my opinion, it's important to see an ear, nose, and throat specialist. Okay. There's one ear, nose, and throat specialist for kids downtown. Okay. I make some phone calls, and with, making 2 or 3 calls to try to squeeze the child in, I get him in within a week. Okay. But if I just fax a referral for that type of visit, it's going to be a couple months.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be a couple months. So
you have to almost advocate on behalf of the patient to, you have to be the squeaky wheel to get them.
Andrew, it's a big part of the, I would say, unsustainability, right, of our current time, right? Yeah. Some of the administrative protocol. Yeah. And also the fact that we are short on so many specialists, right?
So we're short on specialists too.
Oh, huge. Yeah. Everyone talks about.
Is that why part of the reason why the ophthalmologists are billing so much, because there's just not enough of them? I mean, that's where, as a market guy, I'm such a big believer in just free market. Right? Yeah, I look at it and go,
me too.
Let's just
I'm on the
take
same
the shackles.
page.
Take the shackles off.
Yes.
Let the system bill. If way I see it is, I would assume that one of the reasons that you're not getting more people wanting to become GPs is candidly because you don't get paid enough. And if you're going to medical school, you've probably done a bit of research, and if you haven't, by the time you're in medical school halfway through it, you're probably going, from everybody I hear, being a GP is, overwork, underpaid. And even if I just do a small specialty, I can 3X my, or 4X my income, right? And whereas if you just open it up and said, hey, you know what, let's increase. But then I guess that's where you go into this sort of debate over 2-tiered billing, right? Would you have thoughts on that?
I think there's a huge burden, right? And it's pretty much a crisis situation. And how do we deliver, right, the best possible quality and accessible healthcare to British Columbians. Right.
Yeah.
And in Vancouver, with a fastly growing population, that's also very multicultural. Right.
Yeah.
And an office visit with someone that speaks Korean and very little English takes twice as long. An emerge visit gets pretty complicated. So we have to often have translators.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
In our heyday, I had a multilingual staff that spoke about 7 different languages to cater to the needs of the international students.
Was her name C-3PO? It's impressive.
Yeah, there's Google Translate now, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe I'll be replaced by artificial intelligence in 10 years, right? But, nothing takes away from a face-to-face visit, right? So
2-tiered. So, would you support that? Do you like the idea?
Well, I think it already is multi-tiered, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So here's a quirky example, right?
Yeah.
The fee schedule for an adult. If you have a wart on your foot, right?
Yeah.
If you have a genital wart, if you have a wart on your nose, right?
Yeah.
We can put through that visit of $35 on the fee schedule, right?
Okay.
So the care card covers that.
Yeah.
But if you have a wart on your hand and you're shaking hands with everyone, spreading it around, okay?
Yeah.
We have to charge the patient a reasonable fee, right, for treating that wart with liquid nitrogen, okay? So the fee schedule in itself, right, is full of all these somewhat gray areas of, what does the care card cover? It doesn't cover everything. And of course, physiotherapy, right?
Yeah.
Optometry.
Yeah.
Chiropractic.
Sure.
Registered massage therapy.
Yeah.
Acupuncture.
None of that's covered.
None of that's covered.
No.
And if people have a workplace with extended benefits, right, they're pretty happy.
Yeah.
Right? They're pretty happy. So under the care card, it doesn't cover a lot of things. Of course, we know it doesn't cover cosmetic things.
Yeah.
But the fee schedule, I think most family doctors would agree that it's not just putting in this 0100 visit with the billing code and having $32 come through to you 2 weeks later, right?
Yeah.
There's all these little nuances, right? One of the problems is this. If a physician, let's say I see a 50-year-old man, he comes in with chest pain, right?
Okay.
It's pressured. He's never had anything like this before. It's radiating into his jaw and his left arm, and it gets worse with walking, okay? He woke up, he got up, and he said to his partner, I think I better go to my family doctor, okay?
Yeah.
So he comes in to see me in the medical clinic, right? I see him that morning. If there's a little bit of a wait, I triage him. I see him right away. I spend a half an hour with him to properly, right?
Yeah.
Make my diagnosis, treat him, give him some nitroglycerin under the tongue, and I end up phoning the paramedics, and they're there within 3 minutes from St. Paul's and have the oxygen on him. He's all prepared to go, right? So for that visit, let's say the complexity of the visit, as well as triaging the patient, falling behind in my other patients, and seeing him for a half an hour. I bill $30 to the system with 50% overhead.
It's amazing.
That's a huge.
The guy who paints our house is making more money than you are. That scenario, it's unbelievable.
And I think if there were family doctors, you'd keep a lot of the chest pains out of the clinics in the merge, so we wouldn't have to have these half-hour visits. Because an annual preventative physical exam, right, in a 50-year-old man with high blood pressure is a very good idea, right? So preventative medicine is best, right, in the hands of the family doctor, right? And it's fiscally responsible medicine too. So everyone should be happy. The government should love us. Right?
So we need more family doctors.
Yes.
Right? We're either going to get there, it sounds to me, by putting more money into the system to really encourage young people who would be great family doctors to think about that as a profession as opposed to something else.
That's correct.
Would you say that's a fair statement?
I think it is.
Okay. And or if the government's not willing to put more money into the system to up the billing rates for you as a publicly paid servant, so to speak, that you allow guys like yourself to bill privately so that you can do it yourself.
Yeah,
you could.
I think,
but you can't do that today, right?
You can't do that, right?
You can.
You can. There's Copeman Health, right?
Okay.
And there's areas where you can have an umbrella fee for uninsured services. So some of the cosmetic things.
Yeah.
But you can't charge a patient an extra $30 to have an extra 20 minutes with you. You see?
Right. Okay.
So, but by working in a hybrid system where you're doing some cosmetic work, if you have an in-house physiotherapist, some of the uninsured, an in-house psychologist, for example, a kinesiologist, some of these uninsured services that are part of your team, like a Copeman or formerly Medicis, or in Toronto, there's many more centers, right? CanMed, right? You'll truly have an executive program where the doctors, instead of seeing 40 a day, probably see about 15 a day.
Okay.
Right?
But they get proper care and treatment.
They get proper care and treatment,
time and
like it was when I was starting medicine 30 years ago. You would sit down, you would do a proper annual physical, you wouldn't rush it through.
Yeah.
Right?
But it sounds to me like you got to really navigate the waters to run a practice like that today, because it sounds to me like you just can't carte blanche say, I'm now a private GP in Vancouver. I'm not billing through MSP. If you want to come see me, here's my rate. I charge, $100 a visit. You can't do that today.
No. So the Canada Health Act, right?
Yeah.
It states that all healthcare in Canada, Quebec is an exception, because they've opted out. But the Canada Health Act states that all healthcare in Canada should be equal opportunity for all people, right? So people shouldn't pay more for better service or quicker accessibility to specialists or tests, right? And that healthcare should be of quality and be of equal accessibility.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's been happening? We have a real champion, a real maverick, a real, I think, an amazing human being. His name is Dr. Brian Day.
Okay.
That's been challenging.
Where's he based?
He set up Cambie Surgery a number of years ago.
Oh yeah,
and a world class Dr.
I've been there
Brian Day.
A couple times.
A world class orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah.
Right. That's truly committed. Right.
Yeah.
To the betterment of healthcare.
Yeah.
In not only Vancouver but in our country.
Yeah.
Formerly head of the Canadian Medical Association.
Yeah.
And there's an ongoing trial that will be, I think, wrapping up here before Christmas.
Yeah.
And it is a trial where Brian Day and his team, a class action suit of a number of patients, where they felt that healthcare and outcome was jeopardized by the long wait lists, right?
Okay.
For different surgeries in the province.
Okay.
So here's an example. A patient, true example, needs knee surgery, injures his left knee on the job site.
Okay.
So he's covered under the WorkSafe. Okay. WorkSafe will accelerate that. We'll get an MRI very quickly. Okay. And we'll get him to surgery very quickly with a top surgeon. Okay.
Okay.
So that process for one of my patients, under the WorkSafe job injury, where they're motivated to get him back to work.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And anyone that has a health problem and has to miss work, it costs the province money. Of course it does, right? So the patient then is able to get his surgery within a week, I believe, and is back to work, rehabbed.
But through the public system, or we got their surgery through a place like Cambie?
Yeah, but it was accelerated through Cambie.
Okay.
And I believe Dr. Day and his excellent team, right, of surgeons at Cambie Surgery, only 10% of their surgeries are private, right?
Like cosmetic kind of like wouldn't
or would be people that were from a different jurisdiction or out of country.
Yeah.
See, most of his patients are things like WorkSafe visits.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Most people have WorkSafe.
I got my nose surgery done at Cambie.
Yeah.
You know, I was told I could wait. I don't know what the wait time was, like a year and a half.
Yeah.
I had my nose broken like 4 or 5 times over my youth. And it was all crooked way before you and I met. You. It was a very crooked nose, and it was. I basically couldn't breathe out of the left nostril.
Yeah.
Or I could pay, and I don't remember the number was like $1,500, and then the balance, the actual surgery, what I was told, was paid for by MSP because this was an expense that would be considered a medical, a legitimate medical expense because it was true. I couldn't breathe it, and then so that's why I went through Cambie.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like you went through there to get things done, right?
Yeah.
And the fees are not exorbitant, right? I can say that, right? Yeah. You're not going to pay for the knee. This example. So then the patient, 5 years later, injured his right knee, the other knee, right? Yeah. So then he had to go through
but not through work.
Not through work.
Right. So the first knee gets damaged through work.
So when you look at ICBC, you look at WorkSafe WCB, right? Yeah. I guess everyone says to prisoners, right?
Right.
Probably politicians. But these
I've always wondered about that, Jeff. I've always wondered, like when the premier,
it is who you know.
Like does the premier wait in line with everybody else? Like, and John Horgan, has to, get stitches done. Like you know what I mean?
Well, I
was. Is it truly universal? Everybody waits in line at the same amount of time. I don't buy it.
We all have connections, don't we? I'm sure the Vancouver Canucks aren't going to wait wait around under the public system for an MRI of their knee, even if it's sprained, right?
No, exactly.
Okay,
so the same patient
on the other knee, 5 years later has an injury skiing, so it's not covered under WorkSafe.
Yeah,
it took him a year to get the surgery. On crutches for 3 months, lots of expensive physiotherapy.
Yeah.
And ended up getting the surgery and the right repair, but the delay was a year versus weeks.
Yeah.
So
now the argument
is multi. So yeah.
So obviously, I think we'd all agree it's not an obscure idea that if you hurt your knee like that, it should be fixed sooner than later. The sooner you can get that person back up and running, the better it is for society on a whole. The problem that the argument you're going to get is if we went to having everybody be able to just, the highest payer can get the fastest service and go to this 2-tiered system, all the best doctors are going to leave the public service system and the system basically starts to fall apart.
Yeah. Right? I really think that is not going to happen, right? I think we should treat doctors not like kindergarten students, right? We both have young kids, right? Yeah. So we are responsible human beings, right? Yeah. I think most of us probably go into medicine because it's our driving force and our passion, and there's lots of sacrifice in life by time you're 30 years old and you're out in practice, right? Or earning your income, right? So physicians are responsible individuals, right? We want to help people. Right? I've practiced many, many years and done nights and nights of call, being up all night, and done all this for pro bono.
Right.
Right?
Right. Okay.
Right?
So are there times when you don't get paid?
Of course. When I sit home every night for an hour and a half, completing my charts, making referrals to specialists, right? That extra time outside of the face-to-face visit, for every sort of 10 minutes face-to-face, there's often 5 minutes, right, in your day that it adds up over 30 patients or so that you're spending an hour and a half at night. Yeah. So I'm not paid for that. I'm not paid to think through a responsible specialist referral. Yeah. I'm not paid typically. I was doing a lot of call. Over the days, I went to many small towns in different places, but I wouldn't get paid when I was working on the North Shore.
You're not getting rereimbursed for your gas. And
and even
here's the thing that I think a lot of British Columbians don't. If I can just make a quick statement, that I think a lot of people don't get. You think about teachers now. A seasoned teacher today will be making easily $70,000 a year. Someone who's been how long have you been practicing
33
medicine?
years.
33. if you were a 33-year practicing teacher, you'd be making easily over $80,000, if not closer to $100,000 a year.
With a pension.
Exactly. And you get a golden pension, a guaranteed pension by the provincial government that is rock solid.
Yeah.
Right. It was we're in our terms in the financial industry would be described as a multi-million-dollar pension, effectively based on what the cash flow that you are guaranteed from that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like if you want to have the equivalent of a 32-year pension that you get as a teacher in the form of an investment portfolio, you need $4 or $5 million that you can invest in government bonds, because there's zero risk for those people. They are getting their money no matter what, because the provincial government is paying for it. And you're not going to have the Sears effect where all those poor people that worked for Sears got their pensions cut in half or ripped away altogether, because it's the government of BC. If they don't have enough money, they'll just tax us more. In the meantime, so you got somebody who's making a $80,000 to $100,000 income, no expenses, and a pension, and then a guy like you's working his ass off, and and you hear the teachers say the same thing you just said. Well, I don't get paid in the evenings to mark my exams. I don't get paid to be the PE, to be the cross country running coach. And it's no knock against teachers, but it blows my mind how there's such an injustice between what teachers, I think, generally are fairly well compensated. They think they got a pretty good program, especially when you take into the consideration that pension. That they don't want to ever talk about that, right? When they're talking about their negotiations, they never mention the fact they get these golden pensions. And doctors, you don't get any of that. The nurses get a pension. They get the same pension as the teachers, but you as a doctor are responsible for your own livelihood after retirement. And I think a lot of people don't get that, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah. A couple of things here. So there's it helps a little bit, but there's a little bit of an RSP match that goes on to doctors, and there's a little bit of a longevity through the RSP, but it's nothing near a pension, right?
Yeah.
You have to pay that back eventually, right?
Yeah.
So with respect to being a physician of 33 years, right?
Do you get to bill more as you're more senior than someone straight out of medical school?
My wife's a lawyer, right? And we were first dating 18 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Katie said, so that new locum that's just starting, right? And covering for our summer holiday, right? Is on the fee schedule, same fee schedule as you. It would be me and my law firm saying, the days of articling, right? And being here now 20 years, I would be on the same fee schedule or salary, right? So yeah, I hope everyone gets better with the devoted experience, right? I think we gain wisdom after a certain amount of time of doing, putting our heart and soul into our work, right? But the same fee schedule, right?
Yeah.
Of $30 a visit for me versus an amazing first year doctor.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess could you make the argument though that you should be able to triage? I think that's the word you use. Triage people a lot faster than someone straight out of school. So you could just have more patients. Like you could, maybe you could see 50 a day or 100 a day, whereas like a brand new GP could only see 20.
No, I don't think that's the case.
No.
Well, are we a little bit more astute and quicker and come to our differential diagnosis quicker? Yeah. I think you can do that
but it's not like the patient's going to talk any faster.
No, and they still come in with multiple problems. Like, how can you see them? Maybe, I don't know, is $30 worth a 2-minute visit and looking at a rash? Maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But patients come, they wait, and they see us. And they have a few problems, right? Yeah. And we are engaged doctors, right?
Yeah.
We're human beings. We don't turn them away because they've got a mole they want to show us, right?
Yeah.
So we try to do our best within about a 15-minute time frame.
Yeah.
I think the old docs too, we've discovered things called like voice to text and things like that. And the newer doctors are maybe making copious notes, but they're so fast on the computer. It's they have that to their advantage.
Yeah.
But yes, experience, can we see more patients? Yes. Is there a cap on the amount we can see in a day? Yes.
Oh, there is?
Yeah. We're the only doctors, family doctors in British Columbia.
If you wanted to pull a long shift to try and help cover your mortgage payments, you can do that.
Yeah. Say I wanted to help out with the kids, take a half a day off a week, and maybe work an
extra,
a longer shift.
A long Wednesday.
And help service my patients till 8 o'clock on a Wednesday.
Exactly.
And see 60 a day.
You can't do that.
Can't do that.
What's the cap?
The cap, it works out to be of this $30 equivalent of about 45 patients, I think.
Okay.
So that's a real busy day.
Yeah.
But there's days that I've had to see 60, right? or some of our doctors would sometimes be sick, or they'd have to leave a shift, right?
Yeah.
So, well, we can't turn around all those booked patients.
Yeah.
So I would see them, right?
Yeah.
And cover for my doctors.
Yeah.
But I always thought it would be nice to be paid full value for patients if you wanted to see 60. Like a specialist or busy ophthalmologist, I don't think there's problems in a busy clinic where they have all their nurses through the hospital system working for them. There's zero overhead.
Yeah.
They often have a resident working with them.
Yeah.
They can work as a real team
Yeah.
and see a lot of patients.
Yeah.
The billings go up as a result.
Yeah.
But family doctors can't afford, in general, to have a nurse practitioner at $60 an hour working for them because they're stuck on the same fee schedule.
And just to be clear, the clinics are like, you pay for everything. Well, I mean, I think people should also understand that if I were to walk into one of your clinics, the magazines that are on the coffee table, the desks that are behind with receptionists, the receptionist, that's not being covered by the provincial government, right?
No.
You're paying for all that.
No, I think that responsibly the doctors of BC and the Society of General Practitioners and the division of these layers of representation, the division of Vancouver, are doing their very best to create family practice homes, right?
Yeah.
To help us with our massive overhead, right?
Yeah.
So there is some good steps being taken, right? But if we go back to saying, is the system multi-tiered, right?
Yeah.
Of course it is, right?
Okay.
There's many layers of health, just like the WorkSafe visit on the left knee versus the right that was skiing.
Yeah.
So right now, and it's officially legal, right? Our government can, and they do, accelerate ICBC, accelerate WorkSafe patients, right?
So why not open it up more, make it more robust?
To me, it's all the doctors aren't going to go to private care because they're probably going to make more money, right?
Right.
And you can also legislate, right?
Sure.
That maybe the younger doctors, right, that are very highly trained. We have exceptional physicians and nurses and administrators in Canada, right? But open up the door to even just allow, right? A private hospital and to see how we can take the burden off this very, very chaotic, right? Healthcare system that's very hard to fiscally manage.
Yeah. It seems like...
Let's give Brian Day and his team a chance, right?
Yeah,
I know
I love it.
There must be investors here. Or even open up collateral, I guess, insurance plans, right?
Yeah.
And this is not for the elite.
Yeah.
This is for the common...
Someone who's working at a company and they've got a benefits package and the benefits provider might offer that so that there's more attraction to that job. And I love it. I want my staff to be... I would pay for it as employer. I would put something in for that just to make sure that my staff can see someone like you faster, get dealt with more quickly, and get back to the job.
Yeah. I think there's some great things happening, right?
Yeah.
Like they're running the MRIs and the radiology departments.
Are we heading there in BC, or are we still...
I think we'll wait and see what the verdict is on Dr. Day's trial as it comes to a close here soon. And the judge will responsibly deliberate over the next probably 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But it's all about quality, accessible healthcare.
Yeah.
Right? And if we can provide, not for the rich, but for the average, right?
Yeah.
Canadian and Vancouverite, accessible quality healthcare.
Yeah.
And if it's done privately, and we allow perhaps insurers to come in, where we pay, I'm not sure what it would be, a couple $100 extra a month to allow us to have insurance for a ski knee injury or other types of problems that right now the waits are very long. Elective osteoarthritic hip surgery is approximately still about a year wait. Okay. And, the government are doing some good things to running the MRI machines.
Getting those,
late at night, a patient might be called to do an MRI at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night, and they say, great. It's only taken, a month where it used to take 6 months or more. Right?
Yeah.
We have choices in society.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're going to wrap this up because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
But to sort of leave that kind of, because I know before we started filming, you wanted to make this a positive discussion, and I know I've been taking it down into the. But I'm so critical of the whole thing. You know, I think it's a big joke. I think that here's the problem I see. I think that philosophically, Canadians love this idea of universal healthcare, that we all live in this sort of Shangri-La society where everybody gets equal treatment. But then people, when you ask them individually about their personal experiences in a healthcare system, they complain ad nauseum, especially if they need anything of significance beyond just figuring out what's wrong with my cold, but actually getting a knee replacement or a hip replacement. And that's when I think there's a disconnect there. And I think what you're echoing here, Jeff, is that, the reality is the system that we had that maybe worked 20, 30 years ago it's not working today.
I agree.
Guys like you are working harder. You're making less in real dollars.
We're not still on the fax machine, but we are actually.
Right. Yeah. And so we need to, I think, reality is someone in the government level has to bite the bullet here, campaign for the idea of, there's got to be some money spent or some creative ways. If it's not going to be about spending the government's money and taxpayers' money, then it's got to be opening up to suggestions on things like you've just alluded to.
I think my sentiments are shared by most of my physician colleagues, right? We love medicine, but we don't enjoy working under the system, right? Yeah. We don't want to have waits so long, right, for our services, right? And this, just
to be sure, Jeff, is this a decision that's made at the political level, or is it made at the health authority level, or is it made who would have to make the call to change the system to?
I think is
it federal, or
it will probably be appealed if Dr. Day wins the trial to open up accessibility and improve Canadian healthcare through the options of private pay-per service medicine. It may be appealed, I would think, right?
Yeah.
So we might be looking at a couple years until I think through the judicial system, right, we can truly have a Canada Health Act that offers options to people, including private pay, which will not be just for the elite and wealthy.
Yeah.
It'll better the healthcare system for all.
Yeah.
And the young doctors that are given maybe 6 hours a month sometimes in the operating room, and they've trained for how many years, and they're 32 years old, and they want to be doing their profession and getting better at it, right?
Yeah. It's hard to do that at 6 hours a month.
It's hard to do that with hospital budgets and the fiscal constraints of running a very complex. It's a big challenge for the government.
Yeah.
So I'd hope there would be a leader that would, or maybe they've had a family health experience themselves, right?
Yeah.
I think corporate wealth, individual wealth, look at all the support of philanthropy to our hospitals, right? To Children's Hospital, St. Paul's, to VGH, right? Yeah. Those hospitals would not exist without philanthropy.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So let's allow some of that goodwill to go into private clinics.
Yeah.
To take down the wait lists.
Yeah.
Right? To allow physicians to spend 20 minutes with a patient instead of 5 with your hand on the doorknob.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So to me, it's a win, win, win all the way.
Yeah.
Right? To allow Canadians to have choices.
Yeah.
And for our wonderful country and government to work with doctors and the citizens of our country to provide the best health care that is accessible.
I love it, man. You got my vote.
Okay, awesome. Stay healthy.
Jeff, thanks for
by the way, your nose looks great.
Let's do a little plug for your practice. So you got Stein Medical Clinics. You have 3. Are they all downtown?
3 clinics, but we did 2.5 years get out of the walk-in model.
Yeah.
And now,
so what kind of patients do you tend to cater to?
So now I have a boutique practice where I'm pretty much full, right?
Okay.
I work with a lovely female colleague and a nurse practitioner, and I'm located just across the street from the art gallery. I'm interested in sports medicine, a former ski team doctor.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of sports medicine trigger point type injections, help a lot of people daily with that aspect of medicine. And in the last 4 years, one of my patients came back from Europe and had a very natural hair transplant. So I've been mentored in Madrid by one of, I would consider one of the top hair transplant surgeons in the world. And I do now, as part of my general practice and sports medicine, your hair's looking pretty good there, Al. but hair transplantation, right? And it's a very minimally invasive type of procedure that we get really wonderful results, and it's very gratifying.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. And this is your website. So just to be
thank
clear,
you.
so Stein Medical. So Stein spelled Stein.
Yeah.
Steinmedical.com.
Yeah.
Jeff, this has been great. I could next time we got to book like 3 hours. This would be we got to really. This
Thank
has been
you.
fantastic.
Right. So
man.
look at I'm optimistic, right?
Yeah.
And I need to use the healthcare system. My children do at times.
Yeah.
And I think we should all be concerned in how can we provide the best quality healthcare to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Really appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was great.